Hello and welcome to the Stringer Podcast. I almost said, I don't know what I was going to say. Welcome to the Starbucks Pod, the Starcast Bucks Pod thing. Welcome to the Stringer Podcast number 30. This week we have Kevin Briones for you. He is comic book creator of the perfect... Oh my goodness, I keep saying... Dill, I need a sign or something. I keep wanting to say Perfect Dark, which was the video game I used to play on Nintendo 64. It is the Neon Black series, which is nothing like Perfect Dark. The Neon Black series and the Go Man series. Kevin and I, we lived in the same building for a while. We worked together for a little bit. And he's an all-around great dude. How great, you ask? He came and recorded this podcast on his birthday. That's not even the best part. In August. No, in July. Not even August. Poor guy. I rushed him in. I wanted him on the podcast so dang bad. And then we were leaving that day, I think.
To L.A.
We were off to L.A. for the Campeones, the Mexican Champions of Champions Cup that they have. It was being played in Los Angeles. And then between that project and then the move into the new office, it became one of those podcasts that just kind of like sat in the vault, and we knew for sure, like we knew it was going to come out. We just didn't know when. So, Kev, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but thank you, because, you know, after this is kind of like marinated for these months, I'm sure it is 17 times better. Before we get to the podcast, though, Dylan, you're back for a second week.
Hey.
This is exciting. You're speaking 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks.
And we're going to try to keep it going. But I really wanted you on. No, I always want you on. But you were away.
I was away.
I don't know why I'm trying to tee it up so bad. You weren't even on this continent. You were on vacation. Tell me your vacation, dude.
I was in Peru for a week, camping out in the Andes Mountains for a couple nights.
Hiking the Inca Trail.
That's a vacation for me.
That's not a vacation.
It was.
You're lying. No. Didn't it? You said it averaged like 10 kilometers of hiking a day.
Pretty much. Uphill.
But, which sounds completely easy until you realize you're like going through the mountains.
Yeah, these are no paths.
They're not paved, flat walking trails?
No.
This isn't the Toronto waterfront.
It is not.
No. You have a good time?
Great. Yeah. I got some great food recommendations from former podcast guest, Jeff Garriock.
So maybe you can impart one, because I said before, I want to come to you every week for a little bit of advice. Last week, you gave us great Christmas movie advice. If I'm in Peru, if I'm in like Lima or whatever tomorrow, which you never know, where should we go for food? And what did you eat?
Well, the one place for sure I think that was amazing was in Cusco. One of the most unique restaurants I've ever been at was called Fallen Angel. The tables were Victorian-style bathtubs filled with water with like a fish inside, a fish tank, and then a glass tabletop on top, and that was your table.
I didn't see any posts about this,
there was definitely a post. You missed it.
Is there? It's because I probably didn't realize it was you when there was like a table with a fish in it.
Yes. So that, and just some weird art all over the place. It was great.
Fallen Angel.
Yes.
And what did you have for dinner that night?
I had ceviche.
Oh, I love ceviche. Sounds delicious.
It was delicious.
You want to hear about what you missed?
Sure. Clay, what were you up to last week?
My goodness. Let me tell you. No, actually, we had a pretty good week. The Toronto Mike podcast came out. It was awesome because at the end of the week, and he may have talked to us about this off microphone when he was here, he had a podcast roundtable. He invited in 3 guests, and he talked about diversity in sports. And longtime friend Sofia Yurtskovich was on there. If I butcher your name, I'm really sorry, but I practiced it, I promise you, like 20 times before I started this. And she tells this awesome story from when she was at hockey night. And she obviously, like we all were at the time, a group of us kind of came up together. And she was fortunate enough to be at a job at hockey night, is kind of really like honing her chops, her ability as both a sportscaster, but also as a journalist. And she tells a story when she was there, when someone said, "Stick to fucking Twitter because you're not Elliot Friedman." And that struck a chord with me. First of all, because it was a diversity in sports podcast, and so obviously we were talking about a lot of the underlying, a lot of the undertones of being a female broadcaster in sports. But the idea of putting a glass ceiling on someone and saying, just stick to this one thing that you can do because you're never going to be anything more, frustrates me so much. And if anyone's followed her career, she's unbelievable. She's a great journalist. She's a talented writer, podcaster, radio host, on-camera talent. And it broke me. And if you follow me on Twitter, I went off. Like when it came out on Friday, I just went fucking off the wall. And it's, I guess, good because Sophia and I have reconnected. But it was wild to me that these things or that people are just like so narrow-minded and so insensitive. So while you're away, Dill, you missed the Toronto Mike episode. I think it's number 407 when he has the podcast roundtable. I suggest you check that out. And if it's not already too much, Katie Nolan, she's from ESPN. Her show is on ESPN Plus, which is like a pay service. But a lot of the clips from the show, because we don't get it in Canada, you can find on YouTube. It's called Always Late with Katie Nolan. And after everything came out in the NFL recently, this recent barrage of bullshit about Reuben Foster and Kareem Hunt. Actually, her podcast is this really fun feature that comes back every once in a while called Look It Up. This is my version of Look It Up. It's the Always Late with Katie Nolan monologue from the week of December 4th. And she speaks of not only what happened and how perhaps the NFL is dealing with it wrong or how they have not been fully included in investigations as they're going on, but also she finds the pattern in and how people address it. They don't name the victim by name. They never take ownership of what they did. They make these blanket statements like, I was raised by my mom and I was raised by my grandmother, and they point out all the other people in their life that they have let down, and they never actually apologize to the victim here. And they make these bullshit statements, and in the case of Reuben Foster, like days later, Washington picks him up. And if that's not bad enough, and you have to listen to Katie talk about this one, but I believe he's the director of player personnel for Washington, makes an absolute bonehead statement when trying to deal with this and calls it small potatoes. Anyway, not that I'm not going to get too carried away because I'm only presenting it to you kind of secondhand, but I'm saying, Dill, you're back in the country. Listen to Sophia on the Toronto Mike podcast, and then tune in to Always Late with Katie Nolan. You can find the monologue on YouTube, or you can listen to her podcast, Sports, with a question mark, with Katie Nolan, and she goes into it for about 2 straight weeks. She talks about it a little bit more. It was pretty great. But yeah, that's my rant for the day. I just wanted to kind of give some shouts to some people who are doing some awesome fucking shit. Lighten me up, Dill. What are we doing this weekend?
Well, if you want to get outside the house this weekend, I clearly have
to get outside the house. All I've been doing is watching YouTube nonstop.
This Friday, in one of my favorite neighborhoods of Kensington Market.
You and Sean both love Kensington Market.
At the Round Bar, Christmas beats and treats.
This is funny because this one was brought to me by a couple friends separately. We used to all work together, Matt Andrews and Neil Folkard. And I'm interested, like, when you look down the names of the performers, and I think it talks about, like, there being house music, which I wouldn't associate any of these guys being with big, for a Friday night out with house music. But because they both sent it to me, I feel obligated, like I have to go.
And it's for charity.
$20 at the door.
$20 at the door. All profits are donated to Sick Kids Hospital.
I remember that, Dill. I copied it onto a piece of paper once. Boom, $20.
Stuck in
my mind. In the brain. What about Saturday?
Well, Saturday, since this is the 30th podcast, happy 30th anniversary of a topic we brought up last week, Die Hard. No. At the Review Cinema.
Definitively a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie, and it's playing at the Review Cinema in Toronto at 9:30 p.m.
And it's not just playing at this is the neat thing about Review. They host a series called Drunken Cinema. And so Drunken Cinema, as you can guess, has a bunch of games involved, definitely drinking involved, some really interesting cocktails, and prizes that they give away throughout the night. So it's not just like go see a movie, because you can see a movie anywhere. It's going to see Die Hard right before Christmas on the 30th anniversary with drinks, and you can win some sweet swag. Sweet swag. That's sweet swag. It's not something I want to say too many times in a row.
All right. And then Sunday to end out the week.
Wrap up the weekend.
End up the weekend. A legend, the Jim Cuddy Band, playing at one of my favorite venues in the city, the Horseshoe Tavern.
What's the last show you've seen at Horseshoe?
Last show I saw at the Horseshoe Tavern had to have been White Denim, where I ran into former podcast guest again, Dan Gladman.
You're going to be known as Dylan, former podcast guest Wilson. I think one of my first shows, I think my first show ever in Toronto was at the Horseshoe Tavern. They had great new music nights hosted by 102.1 The Edge, which is, I think, where I first went and I got my start. Jim Cuddy Band. This one, too, is for charity, isn't it?
Yeah, all benefit.
Daily Bread Food Bank.
That is
All right?
correct.
I'm cutting you off. See, look, I'm on a roll. I've got it in my brain. All I want to do is get it out. Now, I checked the website. Can I get tickets there, Dylan?
No.
You mean they're sold out? You're telling me the Jim Cuddy Band is sold out of tickets? Then
Believe
why
it or
on
not.
earth why are we promoting this if Jim Cuddy Band is sold out? Where am I going to get my tickets?
Well, there might be a way.
Could it be a Seat Giant way?
It could be a Seat Giant way.
Log into SeatGiant.com and you can find your favorite shows going on in the city, including Jim Cuddy Band, Sunday, 8 p.m. at the Horseshoe Tavern. And if that's not good enough for you, use promo code STRINGER when you check out. I almost said sign out, but I guess you check out, then sign out. Use promo code STRINGER for an extra couple dollars off your purchase. Now, we have 3 things lined up for you, but if you don't like any of those, if we totally aren't your kind of people, which I don't know why you'd be listening to us if you are, Seat Giant can still help you out. They've got tickets to all the concerts, sporting events, theater, and live shows going around not only in Toronto, but all through North America. We were talking before we started. And when I was in Chicago, I went to a Cubs game, and Seat Giant were the ones that helped me hook me up with tickets because it was a sold-out game, but I wanted in. I wanted to see Wrigley Field, and they got me in the doors. So SeatGiant.com for all your ticket needs, and don't forget to use promo code STRINGER because it's Christmas time and none of us are fucking rich and we all need to save a couple dollars. Okay, I did a little bit of ranting. We did a little bit of weekend plans sharing. Now, let's throw you over to the podcast, number 30, with my friend Kevin Briones. There's only one thing left to do. Dylan, you're getting good at this. What is it?
If it's not buying Kevin Briones
Oh my
dinner,
God.
it's the sax.
It's the sax. Here's the funny thing. Usually we try to do a rolling start.
Yep.
Where it's like, oh, you don't know it's recording.
Yeah.
And then we're not recording. And then, oh, surprise, I pick up my mic and they're like, oh, are we going? And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're going. But that's not the case here.
Yeah.
This is one of one. This is truly a unique podcast. Kevin Briones on the podcast.
Hello.
How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing great.
You are the reason for a very special experience that happened in my life. And when no one can see this is, descriptive audio for podcasting. I point back to my Bumblebee head,
Yep.
which I got at Fan Expo,
Yep.
which you invited me out to. And I was
Yes.
able to go to my first one.
Yeah.
It was like a highlight moment in my life because I met Marina Sirtis from Star Trek TNG,
Yeah.
which was like a dream. And it was incredible. And clearly I got my Bumblebee head,
Yeah.
and I got a bunch of other little knickknacks, and that was all because of you, because you had me down. So to start things, thank you, I appreciate it.
It's awesome. It's my pleasure. I mean, it's awesome just to be able to, bring my friends out to that, which, it's part of the reason why I do it is to include as many people as I can in the things I love doing.
I was embarrassed that here I am, 30 something. And I had never been, in all the years that had been under one name or the next in Toronto, I had never been. When was your first Fan Expo, Comic-Con, Comic Fest, Fan Fest?
My first, convention.
Convention. There we go. Thank you. We're getting even an overall title here.
Overall
First
title.
convention.
The convention. My first convention was probably, maybe about 10 years ago.
Holy smokes.
It was 10 years ago, but not as an artist. Just
as a fan.
Just as a fan.
Yeah.
Like you.
Yeah.
Right? So, I would have been 30.
Yeah.
So, not too far off. Right?
Full disclosure, happy birthday.
Thank
Today,
you.
Kev made time out of his schedule to come in on his birthday.
It's my birthday.
You shouldn't have given away your age because honestly, and when everyone sees the photos or looks you up after this, 40 is like, everyone's like, what? Like, even when I told Sean, who works with me as well, when I told Sean that you were turning 40, he's like, really? He's like, I thought he was like 30 to 34.
Kid?
That child is turning 40, but he has such nice skin. We need some secrets here, Kev.
Well,
what do I gotta do here?
I'm just hoping no one finds that Dorian Gray painting up in the attic.
No, yeah. You've clearly found the fountain of youth. You figured it out. So it's a steady diet of, I'm guessing,
hamburgers,
right?
Yeah.
Because you guys usually do a burger day each week.
Yeah.
You still like beer?
Yep.
Right? So there's burgers, there's beer, sometimes pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. And all I have to do is just an equal balance of all.
Exactly. It's all in moderation.
Yeah.
I like saying I like to stay active because I like food and beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I work out so that I can drink, and I drink so that I work out. That doesn't really make sense.
It's a vicious circle.
It's a vicious circle. I remember when you moved out to the west end of Toronto, you were biking into work every day.
Yes.
And I was so impressed. I was like, oh, look at you, Kev. Just like riding your bike in. Like, what a go-getter. Because this is literally, even this morning.
Yeah.
This morning, I set my alarm early because it's a busy day. We have you in, and then Dylan and I actually jump on a plane to LA, and I'm like, I need to pack, I need to do all that stuff. I wake up early, and I'm like, awesome. You know what? I'm up early. That means I can spend a minute and eat breakfast.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of running out the door. And I sit on the couch and I like clean out my PVR for 90 minutes. Like meaning like this thing, that thing. And I kid you not, I want to like walk or ride to work frequently, but that is how, and then before I know it, it's 9 o'clock and I'm like, well, I better Uber. I guess I better get myself to the office. Everyone's going to be getting in.
And you're closer too, right?
I am closer.
You are closer.
It's wild. So 10 years ago,
yes,
you attend your first convention.
Mm-hmm.
People go to conventions, and I'm kind of learning this little by little.
Yes.
For different reasons. There's this group that goes because their favorite artists are there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a group that goes for the communal aspect.
Yeah.
Because they just know the people that go to conventions, and that's their group of friends. And so they get to do their thing. There's a group that goes there for the theatrics. I'm pretty sure just for the, like,
oh yeah,
it's like they outdo themselves convention after convention, and everyone's like, oh, what's so-and-so gonna break out? Mm-hmm. So when the first time you went to convention, what kind of group were you fitting in?
I had fit in, the reason why I went to my first one was
to impress a girl. That's never the answer. That's never, ever the answer. I went to a comic book convention to impress a girl.
To impress a girl. No, it's my favorite artist was coming to Toronto. And it was like my chance to like meet him. And for all you comic nerds out there, it's Jim Lee. And
Stan's brother.
Not Stan's brother. But like his comic book, what was it? It was the X-Men #1. When he first started drawing that was kind of like near the time when like comics, even like comic artists in the comic book community were almost like rock star status.
Right, completely.
And that's what kind of really, really got me into following comic books. Right, so this was my chance to meet him. And I did.
No way.
You know, I've got those exact comics that I had picked up when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Signed by him. Got a picture with him. And yeah.
So was it your ability as an artist that drove you to comics, or did comics drive you to become an artist?
Well, like becoming an artist, that was a bit of a journey on its own. But I knew I always wanted to get into comic books. I just never knew how.
How?
Yeah. That was the biggest thing. And in high school, you know how you do those vocational tests?
Yes.
Where they would like give you this survey and kind of like rate your aptitude.
Janitors is what mine came out as.
I got 2. I got drill sergeant.
Really?
Or garbage truck driver.
You know, wow. first of all, they're incredibly different.
Yep.
And I can't even really draw up lines like, oh, yeah, you know, it's like if someone, it's like copywriter or systems analyst. If someone gave me those two, I'd be like, I kind of get the parallels.
Yeah.
It means I can break big things into little things and little things into even smaller things.
Yes.
And I'm good with process. Drill sergeant or garbage truck driver, I'm like, is one a bait? Like, is one like, we're going to give him two so he feels like he chose the right one, but we're really only going to give him one. But then I'm curious which one they felt they were giving you, because both seem very foreign to the man I know sitting in front of me.
Either that, or it's like, okay, you could either be this or you could be this. And if you're somewhere in between, we're still kind of right.
Yeah. So what kind of jobs, let's spitball for a second. What kind of jobs exist between garbage truck driver and drill sergeant? I'm going to lead the charge with janitor on a military base. Just saying. I would have fit in perfectly.
Right?
But yeah, I understand, like, it's an interesting gap.
Yeah.
And then, do you even use that information at that point?
Well, that was the thing.
When they get like, what do I do with this? You're like, almost like, thanks for nothing.
Yeah, like in high school. So I always wanted to do that in high school, but as soon as I kind of got those results, I was like, oh, so like comic book illustrator isn't an option.
I took all the art classes.
Yeah,
guys.
I took all the art.
I'm doing
classes,
great.
Right? And my guidance counselor told me that like this is a really good hobby. Kind of dissuaded me away from that.
Interesting.
You know? So I went into aviation and flight technology.
How did I not know this? We lived in the same building. I wanted to be in aviation and flight technology.
Really?
I was 100%. And interestingly enough, outside of high school, I never had the opportunity to chase post-secondary.
Yeah.
For a multitude of different reasons. And so then it's like, where are all the smart jobs? Take them off the list.
Yeah.
Like, I want to build airplanes. Not anymore, kid. You definitely got to go to school. So you went to post-secondary for aviation and flight technology.
I did. Over at Seneca College.
Because that also definitely leads someone down the path to becoming a comic book illustrator.
Yeah. You know? It's just natural.
Did you?
It's a natural thing.
Is it a 3-4 year program?
It was a 2-year program.
Okay.
So the way that it worked for this one was out of 1,600 applicants, they would only pick the top 160 to go into first semester.
Okay.
And then to go into second semester, they would pick the top 80.
Survivor of schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty much that.
You had to get the immunity challenge. You had to beat out everyone else.
Yeah.
You had to form alliances, and then you'd stab in the back.
You
when
know,
it was
you
all
just
over.
gotta hope that you get that rose. And just
we need a survivor bachelor. Like, we need to put them, they can't have razors, they can't shave their legs, they can't look pretty, they're out in the wild.
Yeah.
Like, they have to build forts and hunt for themselves, and
they need obstacle
they need
courses.
to fall in love. And they need to fall in love.
Yeah.
That is very, very obstacle courses, and you need to choose the person you're going to marry at the end.
And there has to be that one challenge where they have to eat something gross.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's always that one.
It's weird because I grew up in a very liberal family when it came to food. Mm-hmm. And at a very young age, I was exposed to so many different types of food. And
same here.
Completely cool with it. You were not going to get me to eat like a cricket. Like, it's just not. The crunch is already in my head, and I just can't do it. So you go from 160 down to 80, and then it continues to get worse.
Well, when it got to second semester, I had like an 80% average, and I still didn't make it into second semester.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
So not a drill sergeant. Not a garbage truck driver, not an airplane builder.
I'm not an aviator.
Like, Kev,
right?
What am I going to do?
Right. So from there, I ended up like moving in back home. And I became a security guard while I figured out what I was going to do.
You're pretty beefy.
Right?
I can see that. I wouldn't take you on. Don't mess with
I don't know,
Kev.
back then.
No.
Back then, all I had was a flashlight.
Right in the eyes.
Right in the eyes. Run away.
Run.
I was a very fast runner.
Were you?
I'll say that. Yeah.
I'm not going to stop anything. I'm just going to notice it and run and call someone who can stop it.
So then, it was while I was doing that I realized that like my passion was in the arts.
So this was already after you pursued post-secondary. So clearly you had a desire for it in high school.
Yeah.
But you didn't really give it its due until
because
those late nights on the desk.
All the factors were just pointing me into this other direction of like, art it's a hobby pursuit.
Right. It's not real.
It's not real. It's just a nice thing to do, especially coming from an immigrant family.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure to be a dentist, doctor, lawyer, those, the basic threes.
Yeah, don't worry. From a white family, I get all the same pressure too.
Yeah.
They're like, why aren't you something better? Like, how did you, with everything you had going for, like, all your school grades, how did I not become a doctor? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just... I get squirmish when dissecting worms. Are you first generation Canadian?
Yes.
So your parents came from the Philippines.
From the Philippines.
I know very little about the Philippines, except there's a gigantic basketball following.
Right.
Which I've learned just through
huge
friends.
Following.
Which not only are the huge following, some of the skill that comes out of the Philippines is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, it's interesting to me. I'd love to explore it, especially being in sports documentary film.
Yeah.
I'd love to go down that road. So your parents came to Canada before you were born, and then you were born here.
I was born here.
And they're like, can you please, 40 years ago now, happy birthday.
Yeah, hey.
And then they're like, listen, we've got some ideas for you, but even the alternate ideas are still pretty 9 to 5-ish, right? There's this perceived world of what you're supposed to work, and then there's kind of like this creative world, which when you break into, you realize that it fills up all the weird hours. Conventions are never Monday to Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. No, it's everything that's not that. And so my first experience with an artist, I'll go back. My dad worked with a guy, and I wish I could remember his name, and I think he used to do us like custom drawings. He'd be at work, right, bored. He worked for my dad. And they worked in an office, and he just like said, "Here, this is for your son." And he'd send home Wolverine,
nice,
or he'd send home like Spider-Man, or he'd send like all this wicked stuff. And I think my brother still has a binder of all his artwork, just on like printer paper, like the crummy stuff with all the dots down the side.
Oh yeah,
like the old dot matrix printer paper.
Yeah.
You just rip off a sheet and be doodling one day and be like, "Here, give this," and then they're stinking like hulking Logan. And for me, I think at an early age, that was a realization for me saying, whoa, you can do something, but you can be really good at something else.
Yeah.
That's really creative. Yeah.
And you see, that was exactly my dad, where, he moved here, and up until recently, he just retired a couple years ago. And, he's a professor at Sir Stanford Fleming.
Holy smokes.
Teaching computer-aided design. But he was also a comic book artist on his own.
Oh, so it's a genetic thing.
Yeah.
So this is like Peter Parker has a Spider-Man son.
Yeah.
Like this is, I had no idea your dad was an artist.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was just something that he was like, it's just something I can do, something I like doing when I was in school. But, obviously when you move to another country and start another family, or not another family, start a family.
Tell us really what happened.
He's starting a franchise, is this guy.
This is a completely different podcast now.
But yeah, you're starting to, you're making a new life here.
Yeah.
You go with, what can help support that, right?
And professor, it looks good on a business card.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Comic book artist, it looks cool on a business card.
Cool.
Actually, the business card is probably really cool looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have brought my business card.
Is there business cards?
Yeah, I do have business cards.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's something I still haven't figured out how to do. I'm like, one day I'll have business cards. Up until then, I'll just email everyone. What did you reach out? Did you have a group of friends? So here you're working, you're realizing not only you have a talent for it, but you have a real passion. Mm-hmm. That's where your heart is.
Yeah.
Are we close to you creating your first comic book? Was Go Man your first?
Go Man was my first.
Was your first? Okay.
Yeah.
So is it like, I know I can do something great, I'm just going to go home and write a story? Or is there some middle spice?
Well, there was, okay, let's see. I'm trying to go back in time right now. This is this is your life on your birthday.
Yeah, right? Oh my goodness, I am actually the ghost of comic book past. And you'll be visited soon by the ghost of comic book present. After followed up by ghost of comic book future.
Yeah.
The point I'm getting, like,
Yeah.
you don't just decide, hey, I'm good at this, I want to do it, and magically your first comic book inspiration comes to you.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to write my whole first book and then do all the artwork for it and then tour it around and then sell it.
Yeah.
There's this realization that happens.
Process.
And then there's like 50 feet of shit you got to get through before you get the first thing that you wanted to do.
Right. Yeah.
So what was that 50 feet like for you?
So 50 feet, it was a bit of a challenge because, say after I was a security guard, went into graphic design and then followed that path as a graphic designer. And every medium that I learned, I would kind of incorporate my own comic book characters in a way of like learning how to use Photoshop, After Effects, Flash. So kind of like making my own little side projects here and there, right? So I already had the Go Man, but just like he was my learning tool.
Yeah, right.
He
reminds me of Tim Burton's Jack.
Okay, yeah.
From Nightmare Before
Christmas, yeah.
And if you look back through all of Tim Burton's artwork,
still there.
There's Jack in thousands of iterations.
Yeah.
Before the story was ever there, and before the characters and the movie was ever there.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's totally what it is. But for the longest time, like comic book artists still felt foreign to me. Didn't know how to break into that industry. And I was in the graphic design industry. So, that was more attainable to me there.
Completely. I think there's a path there's a very visible path laid out for you.
Yeah.
In something that's so structured and so widely known.
Yeah. And then so upon moving back to Toronto, I just happened to it was one night after the movies, a bunch of my friends went to the movies, and then we went to the Black Bull. And we didn't realize this at the time, but every Wednesday, a bunch of comic book artists meet up there.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, for a drink and draw.
Drink and draw?
Drink and draw. So all they
is
do is
literally
drink beers
what I think it is?
And draw. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
That's all they do. So you've got this huge table of just these talented artists there. And then I didn't realize till after the fact, there's published DC artists there, published
Holy
Marvel
smokes.
artists there, aspiring artists there. But then after watching this, looking at this, I totally kind of negated my buddies. I'm like, what is going on here?
This night just became you.
I have found my people.
Artists assemble.
But it was seeing that, it was meeting those people and then realizing that no, they're not up here. It's not unattainable.
Yeah.
They're guys just like me, and they're just kind of finding their own way. And I think that was instigating plot point in this story where it was like, okay, it's possible.
Right.
So again, I took my learning tool, Go Man. Let's bring him into comic book format.
And how collaborative is the comic book world? So from an outsider, I know when a writer works with an artist, that's when you come from the world that I'm in,
yes,
or even the graphic design world, that's a very tight team. But are there more people involved that you just don't really realize? So you look at, you have this drink and draw, you have a huge number of artists that come in. Does Go Man do you kind of shop the idea around and be like, hey, try to develop it with the help of a bunch of other people? Or is it still very personal and very private?
Go Man in particular is pretty private in that when I was first learning how to come out with that first issue, the only person I knew was myself and, possibly, these other artists that I had just met, but not knowing much about the industry. But with my background in graphic design, I kind of had all the tools I needed to just build and
just do it,
graphic design my own comic.
Right.
Yeah,
completely.
So that's exactly what I did. I just came out with it. I just you buckle down, spend those late nights.
Yeah, how many? One or two, I bet.
It was enough.
Yeah,
it was enough. I like to tell aspiring artists who are making a comic book
Yeah.
to do one panel a day.
So a panel isn't a page.
It's not a page.
Right, it's just
one of the
It's
boxes.
just one of the boxes.
Yeah.
And there's probably more than 30 panels in a comic book.
More than 30 panels in
more
a
than-
comic book,
that's what I
right? But if you think about it, like every comic page averages about 5 to 6 panels a page.
Holy smoke. So you're doing
Right.
a page a week.
Page a week. But then, you keep slowly picking away at it.
Yeah.
And eventually, after 24 weeks, you have a comic.
Go Man came out with 2 issues.
3 issues.
3 issues of Go
Yep.
Man. And then you introduced Neon Black.
Yes.
What were you exploring with Neon Black that you couldn't explore or you felt you weren't going to explore with Go Man?
That's a good one.
And it's, in a way, and I'm excited for your answer, and I want to just fill in the dead air so you can think about it.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm someone who will have those breaking points where I'm like, this was, and actually, not that you have to look through it, but there's a bunch of ideas on the board behind you for stuff that we're working on. And some of them was one idea, and then we're like, oh my goodness, no, this is 2 things where we can go with this and this. But there has to be this breaking point in you. They're like, okay, I know where this person or this story is going to lead me.
Yeah.
And I know I also want to explore this thing over here that involves other really cool things. And then you don't have to do one or the other. You get to do everything you want. What did you get to do in Neon Black? What do you get to explore?
So with Neon Black, I mean, again, it goes back to the process, right? So if we go back to Go Man, the first issue was pretty much me figuring out how to make a comic. Second issue was me figuring out how to tell a story effectively in 24 pages.
Is that the standard? That's
the
length?
standard size,
Okay.
right? Or a standard,
size,
page amount.
page count.
Yeah, page
Completely.
count. And then issue 3 was me establishing the workflow, right? So like how I can balance that with a full-time job,
Right.
And
a life,
hopefully, right? There's a life in there somewhere. And then so it got to this point where as I'm doing this, and I'm doing the conventions now as well, and establishing a fan base, and like I have momentum going, right? This other story, Neon Black, kind of stemmed from Go Man, but it's more, it was more of its own kind of contained story.
Yep.
Which, there's something pulling me to it where now it's not, with Go Man being kind of an ongoing issue by issue, establish that story. With Neon Black, it's its own self-contained story. I've got like a 4-issue story arc.
Oh, is that
kind of planned?
Ooh, I didn't know that yet.
Oh yeah,
and 2 are out.
2 are out.
2 are out, and there's okay, amazing. That means there's 2 more.
And so this 4 issues is more so like establishing the characters, establishing the world, and with the intent to eventually kind of shop that out to larger companies.
It's like it's the Kevin comic book universe. Right?
Yeah.
You're creating the Kevin comic universe.
The Brionesverse.
The Brionesverse. Oh, I like the way that sounds.
Not to be confused with the Bronyverse. That's there's a Brie there.
And this is one of my first introductions to your art. That's kind of a lie. Go Man was my first introduction to your art because we worked together, and then I figured out that you had this whole other side, and all the comic book artistry, and that I took off with that. I'm like, I want to know this guy. I'm like, forget this graphic design, Kevin. I'm like, he can stay at the desk. But then you told me, I forget how it happened, but I figured out you do commission pieces.
Yes.
And then we worked on a commission piece.
That's it, yeah.
That's in my condo right now. How do you balance the two, though, between you have a story that you want to tell, right? And so you obviously have to dedicate time to that. But there's this piece of you that was, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, so happy and so willing to create something based on kind of not spec work, but like what do you want to see come to life? And I can do that for you.
The reward in doing those is that people will come to they'll come with me with requests on things they would like to see, and the reward for that is I draw things that I wouldn't normally draw.
Right.
So for like your piece in
Most
particular,
highly gothic. Is that what we called it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Most highly gothic. I have to. I'll post a picture of it.
Yeah.
When this podcast goes out, because it's incredible and I love it, and I love the mashup. In my head, I love mashup culture.
Yeah.
And that you had worked on some stuff already that was mashup culture.
Yeah, and that's, again, it's something that I wouldn't have thought of, and by doing those, like by doing the special requests, it also challenges me to kind of perfect my art, because also I don't want to give someone something that I've just kind of hacked out
Completely.
right?
So Jim Lee was massively inspirational to you.
Yes.
As an artist, I need to ask you to help me. What did he work on? What were the comics you were reading that you were able to identify him?
So back then it was his X-Men, and that was the first one to really get the ball going for me.
Are you more of a Cyclops guy or a Wolverine guy? Because I find people kind of divide between the two.
Yeah. It's tough because now Cyclops has kind of gotten pretty dark in the comic book universe. I would say as a kid growing up, I was a Cyclops guy.
Yeah, so was I.
And now I'm a Wolverine guy. So I'm kind of like, there are times when I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go do my own thing.
My mom would travel for trade shows when we were kids. And I don't know where she got this idea. And actually, I should ask her. But she'd come back with a comic book for us from these trade shows, and not like a trade show comic book. That'd be really boring. It's actually called a brochure, and they aren't drawn; they're just photos. No, she'd come back with comic books for us, and that's how we started the meager, very meager collection that we had between my brother and I. And it's just it's a really neat gift because it allows you, especially. You got to remember, this is not something we're asking for or we're out pursuing ourselves yet.
Yeah.
We did go down that road a little bit further, but in a way, it allowed us to live in a different world. Like,
exactly.
Like it's escapism completely from a young age.
Yeah.
And I think it's so neat and it's so visceral and visual. Like you were so immersed in it that I was like, oh, what a neat gift. Instead of having a toy that I can have, and sure, you create imagination, like there's imaginary parts to having a toy, but it would be, I don't know, it was a book, and so it was X-Men for us. It was like big time X-Men, Fantastic Four, Captain America, and then a little bit of DC, but I think even then, though we were too young to really know that they're different, we knew that we're like, I'm not sure I'm like a Batman kind of guy or Superman even kind of guy, even though we liked the movies as kids. We knew we were like, I think we loved the team aspect.
Yes.
Right? We always loved having a group.
There's like, there's this guy. This is the leader. There's the strong guy.
And that's what X-Men gave us.
Yeah.
So you, as you said, your entry, a real inspiration would have been X-Men?
Would have been X-Men.
Yeah.
And it was in following that I started to realize that there's other artists, and then discovering these other artists. And then it got to the point where, as opposed to following the actual characters and the stories, I was following the artist.
Oh, interesting.
Because artists would go sometimes from title to title, and he would move to Captain America.
Yeah.
And then he would later form Image Comics.
Interesting.
Right? And then come out with his own titles. And you're like, oh, wow. He's making his own characters. And, now he's editor-in-chief of DC Comics.
Holy smokes. Right? Now, are they signed up for runs? They're like, we're going to do 20 issues with you here. Or is it like a job? Is it I apply for a job, I get a job, now I'm working on this comic, and I get to keep it until I get fired?
No, it's they get signed up for runs. They're like, here's a 12-issue comic deal.
Interesting.
Here you go. And
Have at it.
And it goes back to the collaborative route that you were talking about before, where you have to establish that connection with a writer, right? Where you can collaborate on the story that you both want to tell and how to tell it the best.
And do you often see our story arcs? This shows how little I know. In a run of comics, does a story arc generally see itself to completion?
Yes.
There?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
It's it's pretty crazy.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's awesome seeing that, right? So, yeah, that's something that I would aspire to one day.
Yeah.
You know?
Is to work with, because you went on, you've written the 5 comics you've put out, you've both written and illustrated. Thank you. Would it be hard for you, do you think, to team up with a writer, because you have clearly the fact that you wrote the first one and didn't go to someone the first time and be like, I have the story I want to tell, can you help me by writing it, and you kind of just worked it out yourself. You get a flow, you get a way of doing things. Would you look in the future to team up?
I would.
Do you think?
Yeah, I would love to team up. It's I mean, it goes back to the collaborative aspect of graphic design.
Right.
Where, that world isn't foreign to me.
Right.
It's in some ways it's more familiar to me.
Right.
Where, if someone has a great idea and, I feel like I contribute to that idea to help it kind of give it a look and bring it to life.
So, okay, stay with me. Got an idea here. I'm gonna shop it around to the group. So we have a middle-aged camera guy. He's kind of plain looking, wears a lot of ball caps, and he travels North America. He needs a superpower. What's a superpower? Like, he needs something.
Well, first you have to say it like Stan Lee.
First, of course I'm having a great time. I'm here. He's incredible. That man, he's still... I've tried to download every podcast, every interview he's ever done, just because I like his presence in a room. And it's interesting, actually. I don't know if you saw it recently. He's amidst a legal battle with some of his former partners.
Yeah.
And I kind of paused everyone for a second after I read this. And I said, and we're going to deal with great numbers here, but still, do you have Stan Lee's net worth?
I don't know his net worth.
So he's been doing this obviously forever. He is like the grandfather and father of everything that I've ever known. 50 million, right? So 50 million sounds. Trust me, if I had 50 million, I wouldn't know what to do with it. Yeah, line that up against someone like J.J. Abrams, right? Who I'm a big fan of. He's had a couple great TV runs, of course, a couple great movies, and he's worth 200 million. So so Hollywood is this really weird place, and that's what I kind of expressed to everyone after I read this, is here's a man that has fathered, in a way, generations of creativity. Yeah. But he
probably
never owned the company.
Inspired J.J. Abrams, too.
He probably inspired J.J. Abrams. Yeah. I'm waiting for the J.J. X-Men movie. Like, if he does that... I am so on board. A little too many lens flares, but I'm so on board with what JJ does if he ever does an X-Men movie. Wouldn't that be incredible? Okay, awesome. So camera guy, travels North America. He fights crime. He just needs... Maybe it's in the camera. Maybe he's a Donatello. Maybe he's a Donatello, right? Where he's a little funny looking, but he's really super smart.
What if he sees the immediate future through his camera lens?
Like
5 minutes ahead.
5 minutes ahead. Yeah. Wasn't there a TV show? There's a TV show where the guy, every morning he received tomorrow's newspaper.
No.
Yeah, I'm positive. Dill, look this up if you can find it. I think every morning he received. Maybe it was even every morning he received. Yeah, tomorrow morning's newspaper. So it was the events that were going to happen that day. And so he literally. I felt terrible for this guy. Because you can't win them all, and he goes around all day long, like trying to stop whatever's supposed to happen. Yeah, that's going to be bad from happening tomorrow. There's a comic book hero,
right?
But he sees it through the lens of a camera. He's filmed it before it's actually happened,
right?
See, collaboration at work. 12 book deal, 24 pages each.
Done. Let's get started.
Let's get started. Dill, do you have it?
So I got the show.
Am I close?
Oh. It's called Early Edition.
Early
Edition.
Came out in 96.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Wow, Clay.
Starred Friday Night Lights star Kyle Chandler.
No.
Really? I'm so impressed with myself.
I did not even know that existed.
It's the morning time. No, yeah. Now we have to binge watch it. I wonder if it's on Netflix. I think it only needs a couple episodes. How many seasons did it last?
Lasted 4 seasons, 90 episodes.
What?
That's a great run.
Yeah, that's
Like a TV show becomes great at 100, and it was just short of that. That's incredible. Early edition.
There's got to be like one episode where he sees his like obit.
It's got
to happen.
Or they do it. It's like every cliffhanger at the end of each of the 3 seasons.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, it happened again. I wonder what his day job was. Like, can he even have a day job at that point? You're like, I am so busy saving the world every single morning. I can't go to the Daily Planet and type my story. I'm sorry. But I was close. Was I close on the premise?
Wow. It's just a paper delivered mysteriously every day.
Of course.
And it's accompanied by a ginger tabby cat. That's the...
A ginger tabby cat. Oh, I love the 80s and 90s for television. You're just like, what?
Yeah, you're like, you're going to do what? And they're like, we'll give you 5 seasons. Just make it.
He was a stockbroker, too. That's
a stockbroker.
Wow. Because that's not demanding. Maybe he had one of those, like, massive life changes.
Yeah.
Like going back to Scrooge, like here he was so into himself and the money he was making. Yeah. And he started receiving tomorrow's newspaper. And then he had to change his soul.
You still get the results for the next day.
Oh, yeah.
They'll give you hints on like,
maybe he used it for bad. The TV show, I think he used it for good, but I just go right to the sports section.
Yeah.
I'd be like, who wins tonight's game? Oh my goodness, what an upset by the Maple Leafs.
You're Biff Tannen in this here.
Thank you very much. Outside of the comic book world, what are some of the inspirations you find that help you and help you in just being creative?
Just everywhere. It's
thanks.
Obviously everywhere.
Everything makes me creative.
Everything inspires me. From finding out how to play with a new medium, whether it's watercolor or clay, or and trying to see how I can bring that to life and incorporate that into the next issue, right?
Have you worked with clay?
I have.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
We should talk about this. I'm very curious how that turned out.
I could make a clay.
A clay. I'd probably be more interested in a clay, like Go Man.
Yeah.
Actually, clay. You just gotta be soft and round. I can make that too. It's called a ball.
Done. 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Got it.
And look, you can see his superpower.
Yeah. You can see tomorrow's future through the camera of the lens of his camera.
But it's watching movies. It's television. I get a lot of my inspiration from just going to the conventions and seeing what other artists are doing. Right, just being inspired by that.
Yeah.
Right, and after every convention, I just get this like this mode like wave of inspiration of like.
Gotta create.
Gotta make something more,
Spent pencils. How did that become? That's like your troop.
Yeah.
Those are your boys.
That's the crew.
How did that come about? And when in the timeline did you kind of start forming or become part of a larger group?
Well, that was roughly near the beginning. Shortly after I had met those guys at the Drink and Draw, I started doing my research online to kind of see like, what groups are doing more things like this. And then I happened to meet one of my cousins introduced me to a printer in Toronto.
Oh no way.
And he his buddy, who is the owner of the print shop, he printed a lot of comics for just indie artists in Toronto, right? So he knew that I was making a comic. He's like, I gotta introduce you to my buddy. This is what he does. Wow. You guys talk. And so at his shop one evening, he had just like a meetup of like comic book, just local comic book people. And then I met the two main guys, Arnold and Vince, who had started Spend Pencils. Yeah. Oh,
what names! I love it.
Oh, it's crazy. It's funny too because they fit the names.
Yeah.
Right, where when you see them, like at first I didn't
know which
think,
one's which just by looking at them.
And I didn't think that they were comic book artists just because they're how they carried themselves.
Yeah.
Like at first I'm like, oh wow, is this my cousin's buddy's like hired muscle or because these guys look like.
Is this a workout convention or what?
It's like, what's going on?
Did I show up at the gun show?
It wasn't just like they look like jacked dudes. They just look like they could wreck shop if they needed to. Right?
That's how they ensure they get paid.
Yeah.
You're going to buy my comic book, and I'll make sure you pay me for it. Give me your milk money.
Yeah, but then, I got a chance to, like, talk to them, and they're like, oh, hi, my name's Arnold, and I do drawings,
That's incredible.
Would you like to join our group? You should join our group.
You should
really?
be part you seem so nice. Talking about, you said your cousin introduced you to the printer.
Yeah.
Was it the same cousin? We realized that we had not a connection like ages and ages and ages before, because one of my first jobs in television was with a production company called GPI, which did a show called Sport Compact TV.
Yeah.
With a delightful host that I got to work with for a season or a season and a half named Kay Pettiflor.
Yes.
And I don't know how. I have no idea how we realized that I don't know what conversation we were having where her name came up.
Yeah.
But you guys are cousins.
Cousins.
You're related.
Yep. And we're also like twin cousins, as in we're born a month apart.
Get out.
Yep.
I had no idea. So I worked on this show. To explain to Dylan, poor guy, or anyone, I worked on this show called Sport Compact Television. And it was in the height of tuner fever.
Yep.
Right, where everyone was doing something to their Honda Civic or Sunfire, or some of the nicer ones too. Like you had Preludes and you had Integras, and worked with a guy who had a Toyota Supra, right, which were a beautiful machine all around. And Kay hosted the show, and I worked there, and I kind of did a whole whack of odd jobs originally. I think he wanted me to sell, like the executive producer wanted me to sell commercial time, which totally wasn't up my alley. I logged B-roll for them. So imagine you're like, I'm going to sell commercial time, and now you're logging B-roll to like being an extra hand on shoots, because they do some of the like the tuner tech in the building where the production company was located. And so I'd be like an extra set of hands on that, because I actually had a bit of a mechanics background. And Kay, she was incredible. And then everything, I think, just kind of disappeared at once. I don't know. Yeah. Like, it all kind of, in a night, I think
it just kind of dissipated.
It kind of dissipated.
Right.
And Kay, does she stay in television? She does yoga stuff now, doesn't she?
She stayed in television. Yeah, she's huge into yoga now.
And she's an instructor, and she has a large following, and she does conventions and stuff like that.
Yeah. All that. I mean, she stayed in television for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And then, it's exactly that. She kind of found her footing,
her spot
in yoga.
So what I'm learning here is one of your cousins got huge into TV, then yoga. Another one of your cousins introduced you to a printer.
Yeah.
Really, I just got to stay close to you.
Yeah.
And I'm either going to meet the people I have to meet, or they're just related to you already, and they're just going to help me work my stuff out.
Yeah. We know a few people.
Yeah, you know a few people.
Yeah.
You're a good family to know.
Yeah.
How many conventions are you doing this year? First of all, how many did you do last year? I know we had talked earlier, and you said you're doing a few less this year.
Yeah.
But what are you used to? Like, how big of a circuit are you used to doing? And then what ones do you have coming up this year?
Well, I think the most that I did in 1 year was like 10.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And that's not even like spread out throughout the years. There's like a convention season.
Yeah.
Almost.
Okay.
And
it kicks off in March.
In March. Okay. And kind of goes all the way up until that year in particular. It went to, I want to say November.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, I've reduced it down to like 5 main ones.
Yeah. In Canada or Canada and the US?
Just Canada. I've only done a few in the States, which were pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But
you did New York, right?
I did New York.
Yeah.
Part of the fun for that was we got to stay on a houseboat.
Ooh.
Yeah. Airbnb is the best.
It's like being a kid when we got to go to like any sort of hotel and we'd all rate, and then they had a pool.
Right.
And you're like, oh my goodness, it's got a pool. Totally. Yeah. That's being an adult. It's now getting a houseboat.
Yeah.
Or just like really cool apartments through Airbnb. You're like, oh, you're never going to guess the place we're going to get.
Place out. Yeah.
That's incredible. So mostly in Canada. So Vancouver, Calgary, I'm guessing. Toronto, Montreal.
Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, and Niagara.
Niagara has one.
Yeah.
Has it Is it coming up or is it passed already?
It passed already.
Oh, wow. How was that?
It was really good.
Yeah. Do you get some of the northern New York people up there too?
Yeah, you get a lot of New York
or
people.
Western New York, I guess it is.
And then actually just last weekend I was in Montreal.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it went well, I hope.
It went awesome.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Great. So, like I said, I'm riding this wave of inspiration right now.
Amazing.
Birthday week.
Birthday week. You're just winning on all accords. So now you spilled the beans. We know there's 2 more Neon Blacks at some point.
Yes.
How do you tackle? Is this something where you complete the story for the 2 of them?
Yes.
Give me a timeline. Basic, Kevin. I just want to know when I get my book.
So a timeline. So what I'm planning on doing now is writing 3 and 4 together.
Okay.
So once I'm done that story, which I'm hoping at the very latest before Christmas.
Okay.
And then I'll start illustrating it right after the 2 of them together so that as soon as I'm done 3, I'll start selling those.
Yeah.
And then the wait time between 3 and 4
will be
is
less.
a lot less.
And do you try to keep yourself to a panel a day? Is that your own still internal?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now I also have
Whoa.
here's a secret.
Stringer exclusive.
Yeah, Stringer exclusive. Totally. So as I was cleaning out the condo this week, I had I just remembered that I have a whole 4th issue of Go Man already penciled.
What?
Yep.
The fuck, Kev? How do you forget about that shit? Life gets busy, clearly. I'm not...
Well, life gets busy, and then... What was it? Yeah, life gets busy, and then... And we got on this Neon Black kick.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, it's either do this or do this.
Right, completely.
Right?
Because you can't do 1 panel a day for 3 books.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I was looking through it, and this book here is already done.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple little fine-tuning to do to it.
Yeah.
I'm debating on whether I should, ink it or follow the previous style of Go Man.
So help me understand the difference there in what you're describing between penciling it and inking it.
Yeah.
And then it has to get colored too, right?
Yes.
That's its own process.
Yeah, so it still needs to be colored.
So what's the old look versus the old Kevin look versus the new Kevin look, and what you want to do with Go Man there?
So with the old Kevin look with Go Man, what I ended up doing was I would pencil the whole book, and then color it digitally, and then put in the lettering, make the cover, and then boom, you got your issue.
Yeah.
With Neon Black, this one was all done. All the artwork is all done traditionally.
Oh,
so it's inked. I use markers, watercolors, and that's
now
kind
I'm
of
going to go back and look. But that makes complete sense because you said when you created the first Go Man, you were applying a lot of what you knew from graphic design.
Yes.
Which would be doing a lot of these things digitally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And then as you explore the craft, you're then able to explore different ways of doing things.
Yes.
Such as more
like
traditional
markers,
methods.
watercolor.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're going to do yet? You can leave that as a surprise.
Yeah.
That can
I'll
be
leave
the big
that as a
surprise.
surprise. We'll see.
Go Man 4.
Right?
Any hints as to
issue 4. Dun, dun, dun.
As to where the story leads with their little protagonist?
Where the story leads, it's continuing from
Okay.
It's continuing from the from the first 3 issues from that world that established.
Yeah, that's great. That's extremely vague. Captain Kirk and Spock keep going through space. Tune into the next Star Trek.
They just keep moving forward.
They just not done their 5-year journey yet. They just move forward.
But it's even reading through the script, it kind of goes deeper into the characters where you explore kind of where they come from and what they represent as people. Not just characters, as people.
Okay,
Yeah.
what should we do, Dill? What should we do for his birthday? We got to do something. It's the first time we've ever had anyone on the podcast on their birthday. We got to do something special.
Except for you.
Well, did that work out? Was it on my birthday, or were we supposed to do one and then he canceled? We gotta do something special for Kev's birthday. I'm not gonna write him a song. I tried that once already. It failed miserably. Everyone's sick of me singing. All right. I want to. Oh my goodness, this is tough. I'm great at putting people on the spot. I'm terrible at putting myself on the spot. For your birthday, this is what we're going to do.
Okay.
We're not going to go for... I'm going to promise you, we're going to set a date.
Yep.
You and me, we're going to go out, just the two of us. It's going to be a birthday gift.
Done.
Let's go. Let's just pick somewhere in the city. Because a lot, as we've learned recently, we actually get a lot of listeners from actually the States. Interestingly enough, a lot of US, which I would imagine they're not so up on what the Toronto restaurant scene is like.
Yeah.
So you and me, where should we go? Let's stay outside of distillery. So how I met Kev actually was we worked together in sports, but then we realized we also lived in the same building, only a couple floors apart.
Yeah.
So then we'd sometimes walk in together. We'd walk home together. When we're bored, he'd let me sit on his couch and we watch, what was the Mike Tyson Mysteries?
Oh, yes.
We watch Mike Tyson Mysteries as you illustrated.
As I drew.
As you drew. And I just sat there like a bump on a log. Where should we go? Let's do that.
Where should we go? I guess the real question is, what do we feel like eating?
I'm totally over right now burgers. I know you're a burger guy.
Burgers are always
I've kind of had my fill.
Yeah.
So let's stay away from the traditional fare. Mm-hmm. Where's an interesting experience in Toronto?
An interesting
do you feel just like atmosphere? You like how I went from putting myself on the spot to putting someone else on the spot? That's how I deal with pressure.
One of my favorite spots is La Carnita.
La Carnita. Oh, it's a taco place.
Yeah.
Right?
Taco
Spanish place?
Yep.
Which one? Where is there? Is that the one near the Scotiabank Theatre?
There is one near there.
Okay. You had a better one.
Which is kind of like the main one. The original one is up on College.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So College Street.
And, that place holds a little place in my heart for me because one of my first jobs when I moved back to Toronto was I was working at the company that helped start it up.
No
Actually,
way.
The art director there started it, and all of us designers had a hand in
what it looks like.
Yeah.
In the texture.
Yeah.
Of what the place is. Yeah. And so is there still like remnants of Kevin Briones on the walls?
I'd have to look.
Or on the
they
menu?
Should be, yeah.
I'm totally down for tacos.
Yeah.
Let's do tacos.
Done. We'll do
Done?
tacos. Yeah.
When's the next time that someone can see you at a convention, Kev?
Would be at Fan Expo at the end of August.
In Toronto. So we'll look out for Go Man, Neon Black,
Yeah.
Kevin Briones, Art of Kevin Briones, artofkevinbriones.com.
Well, it's just kevinbriones.com.
kevinbriones.com.
Yeah. You can catch me on Instagram. It's at GoMan7.
Yeah. You're in my phone as Go Man. Still.
Oh, yeah?
You're in my
Nice.
I always when I go to text you, I type in your last name and it doesn't come. I'm like, oh fuck, right, Go Man, and then it comes up at GoMan7 on Instagram.
Yep. GoMan and then number 7.
Number 7, right.
Yeah.
And Facebook is Art of Kevin Briones.
Yeah, Facebook is.
Amazing.
Done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. There's one thing, we didn't even get into this. I hope you come back because I'd love to. And I told you, I was like, before we started, because there's clearly 1,000 things we could have talked about, I said, Kev, if it's okay, let's work at the comic book stuff for this conversation. He's like, yeah, totally. I'd love to talk comic. Of course you do. Something that's really important to me, and it's actually, you're one of the people I've looked up to when it comes to continually trying to find balance in life, right? And it's appreciating the fact that big changes come with a lot of small decisions.
Yes.
And so as we say goodbye, I like to finish every podcast the same way. And that is encouraging everyone to be good to themselves and eat their vegetables. Because as silly as it sounds, that's such a small thing that crazy enough so many of us overlook that is such a positive change in our own life.
Yes.
And if we can do one small thing a day to make a positive change in our life, then we can do 3 and then we can do 5.
Yeah.
And then we're on our way to seeing the big changes come about.
Yes.
So as we finish this off, from myself, obviously Kevin, from Dylan, from Luca who edits, thanks Luca, please be good to yourself.
And eat your vegetables.
How would Stan Lee say that?
And eat your vegetables.
I'm so glad I'm here.
Excelsior.
Excelsior.